What's up, sassy gamers? Today is May 20th, 2021, and this is Got Our Attention podcast number 49. Almost 1 year around the sun, and my lights are just like, this camera is not like the lighting that I have set up in my room. It is a little too harsh. Oh, that's even worse, I think. If you're watching live, you know what I'm talking about. It gets crazy. It's like a really cheap HD sort of camera, and I have like pinkish purple lighting, and when it gets to a certain shade, the camera just like glitches out. It just doesn't get it. It keeps flashing almost. It's crazy.
So we're gonna go to orange, and you're gonna start again?
Yeah, orange. Totally. No, not gonna happen.
Not the lighting. I mean, you're gonna fade out. You gonna start again?
No, definitely not. There's no fading out. Hey, Brian.
So we've made it to the desert. Well, like, yeah, it feels like we're on Oregon Trail.
Oh, God.
And instead of crossing the river and getting dysentery, we are currently in the desert right now. Just dry heat. There's no water. There is no news right now. We are in the news drought. And this happens every year. This is the time before E3, even though E3 is not what it normally is. Nonetheless, a lot of the game companies are just kind of keeping quiet on what they have coming up because they're going to make big announcements around the time of E3, coming up in June, not too much longer from now. They're going to have their own press conferences, whether it's related to E3 or not. Sure, Jeff Keighley's probably going to get everything all organized for us because he's been doing a great job at that. He's really, if anyone has really taken to this pandemic workplace, it's Jeff Keighley. And I applaud him for that. He's a smart man. But
yeah, it's we're also coming up on other convention time as well. So we'll start having a lot of things based on it, like you said, like E3, obviously game makers are not wanting to put out a lot of news because they want to wait until they can at least showcase it there. We always had Bethesda do their own type of show now, but since Microsoft has taken over, I'm sure that that'll just probably get rolled into something for Microsoft eventually.
It'd be hilarious if they kept them separate.
They could, yeah.
Could you imagine, like, we've always had a Microsoft and a Bethesda press conference. Let's keep doing that.
Yeah, I mean, they could do it. So we'll see what happens with those. And then we actually got some word from some of the Dragon Con Twitter and Facebook pages that they're going to be doing definitely hybrid this year. They're expecting to have it in person along with hybrid online, still having some kind of panel content available online, which initially that was like rumored to be like around 60-40, like 60 in person, 40% online. Now with the numbers of the COVID vaccines coming out, along with like the cases apparently going down, they're thinking more like 80-20 at this point. So sticking with the guidelines of obviously what the CDC has recommended for the state of Georgia, but also being able to mix in some of that content online, which, because we talked about it last year, like that's kind of a huge point for a lot of these conventions, that they have learned that like there's a lot of people that either A, can't make it for whatever reason, and B, it's just convenient to be able to go online and be able to check out some of these other panels and get some exposure to some people who don't necessarily get the space, the panel in an actual physical location, or they can't travel. I mean, there's people like they don't get to travel as much because of whatever reason. So we'll have some news on that later this year as well. So it's just kind of running up into that. We're in that drought. We got a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of news that'll start breaking here soon. But for now, it's just, again, in that desert we have to cross, and then a little bit of oasis here and there to pick up some water, at least for me anyway. Oh, man. So kind of starting off, it's kind of funny that we talk about this for this specific company, but earlier last year when the PS5 and Xbox Series X was coming out, obviously the war they had between both, trying to see who was going to sell what. PS5, they announced to their PlayStation Network users, if they had a account and they had enrolled before this announcement was made, that they would have like a VIP line that they could join and then have the ability to order a PlayStation 5 from Sony itself. Some of them, yeah.
Like a lottery.
Yeah. So Sony set that up for them. And then obviously we know the whole fiasco of what's happened since then with the scalpers and just all of the craziness. And then, you know, still going on eBay right now. You could probably still find one for at least probably $1,000. But Microsoft actually has announced recently that they are going to do something similar to that. So you basically have to have an account with them. And what is going to happen is this is actually a tweet that came out with Xbox Insider. It says, today we're introducing the console purchase pilot, allowing US Xbox insiders and Xbox One to register for the chance to reserve an Xbox Series X or S console. And it says, check the hub for more information, limited space available, and not all who registers will be selected. So again, sort of a lottery. It's going to be, you know, some of those people that get it, but they're just going to give them a little more chance if you are interested in getting that next gen or the current gen actual, I guess, console now, and you have an Xbox, you know, Series X or Xbox One, and you're wanting to make that jump because you're a fan and you want to move on with that. They're going to start being able to give you a little piece of that ability to get that directly from them, rather than having to, you know, wait on a retailer or try to end up going to one of those terrible scalpers.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, just because you said it right from the beginning. Oh, this war that they were going to have with each, there ended up being no war with each other. Both of them sold out constantly, still selling out constantly. They are selling as fast as they can make them. And, you know, you got PlayStation is just making more of them. They're able to outproduce Microsoft on this. And that makes sense to me. We've always said Sony's the hardware company. Microsoft is the software company. Microsoft from the get-go has been aware of this and probably knew they were going to be outproduced. So they focused on the software side of thing, you know, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. And, you know, we're already fans of that. And yet at the same time, we're fans of the PlayStation. Well, at least those of us that are more on the console side. Mike is firmly PC Master Race, which is fine. That's a great place to get games too. I like all three.
I'm not even saying I wouldn't even have bought a console if it was a little easier to get. I mean, I probably at this point would have probably picked one up just for the journalism sake, just to be able to have, you know, something.
I have one downstairs.
Yeah, you do. Said me. If it was easier.
No, I have one downstairs you can purchase.
Oh, I don't want to purchase one now. Don't put me on the spot.
You just said.
Said I would have. Different.
Okay.
But yeah, that's
like when presented the opportunity, like I literally have one downstairs.
No, I don't want one.
That I can sell you new in box.
I'd change my mind.
No scalper price attached. And then you're like, oh no, I was just joking about that. I really wasn't going to buy it. You know, I was just
kidding. I was just
blowing smoke up your booty.
But what's funny though, you mentioned that Sony's on the hardware side, and then you mentioned a couple things with Xbox Game Pass. Well, Xbox is also acquiring companies. Like Microsoft was out purchasing ZeniMax and making huge deals to bring more content
software
to bring more content to their already existing platform. So.
Which is a problem both sides have had, is bringing content. Like many people are looking at Returnal as being one of the first PlayStation 5 games released. I mean, yes, there was Spider-Man Miles Morales, which was new code on top of the existing Spider-Man, and it, you know, had quite a lot of work put into it. I don't want to disparage that game, and from all accounts that I've heard is fantastic game. But most people are seeing as Returnal as being the first PlayStation 5 only game made for the PlayStation 5, not counting Astrobot. That's more of a tech demo. And made from scratch for the PlayStation 5. Even if you can get for the PS4, and I don't know that for a fact, but
actually
and we're like, how many months into this? We're like 7 months into this, and that's like what people are considering the first PlayStation. And goodness knows that there has not been one Xbox only series only game out there at all. So no wonder they're picking up some software company, because they both have this problem, like creating the content for their new consoles.
Yeah. I mean, and one of the things that, like I just mentioned about how Microsoft acquires ZeniMax and trying to bring more content, we're starting to see that now with Sony as well. So like recently there was another article. We were actually going to bring this up later, but I decided just to go ahead and say it now because it kind of fits. But basically, there so Steam has said that they're going to allow publishers to be able to put a Steam page, like a store page. And what turns out is PlayStation all of a sudden now has a store page on Steam, which it's not a new concept to see, like, Horizon Zero Dawn or any of those like PlayStation exclusive games. Even what was the other one?
It's still kind of new.
What's the Amazon game? The Amazon trucker walker simulator game? What was that? Death Stranding. So Death Stranding was on there as well. And
Did you say Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon Footwalker Delivery Survivor Man or whatever. It's like delivering packages. So anyway, but what we also see is that game is also being on there. So they actually have a store page now with all of their games that are PlayStation related. And also what they're saying too, though, is one of the new games, Days Gone, is actually going to be on Steam like really quick. I think within a month of release, if I think I remember that correctly, or maybe it was a month from now.
Yeah, we've talked about similar before. Like, why weren't they doing that? Because both of these consoles, especially at this point, I mean, gone are the days of the cell processor and the PS3 and like being difficult to program for. I mean, the PlayStation 4 was AMD based, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. It could be IBM based. I'll have to look that up. But now they definitely are both AMD based. They're both PCs.
Yeah. But it's
both
just
PCs.
It's again hardware versus the software approach, right? So Sony's like, we're not going to make this massive like online store like Microsoft has and tries to get all these companies to go there and you buy games even on PC from them. Sony just goes, hey, let's just give it to Steam. They already do the thing, and we can just get the sales from that. And it's a different approach to kind of the, multiple ways to do the same thing, know.
I mean, they've always wanted to get their money off of their software. It's just they wanted to keep it in their walled garden. And yes, the PlayStation 4 had an AMD x86 64-bit 8-core processor. So this is the second generation of them just being PCs.
Yeah.
And as easy to develop for as PC. And anybody who develops for those platforms will gladly tell you they typically don't develop on those platforms. They develop on PCs.
Yeah.
And then take the code down to where it'll run on the platform.
Hence why I play on PC. So, it's just crazy.
Yeah. So because of that, it shocked me that they took this long to like get that out on Steam or something like that. We said it before where Microsoft was like, hey, let's get this both on the Xbox and on the PC, even sometimes the same date, and that, increase their sales when they were selling and increase the sales of the Xbox Game Pass, because when they did day and date for both of those on that, we've kept our subscriptions up. I mean, my subscription's been since day one. I've had Xbox Live Gold from beta on the original Xbox every time. And then as soon as I could convert it to Game Pass Ultimate, I did. And I've had it since it, because it's such a good value.
I mean, I had
so much better value than it was before.
I had Xbox Live back in college when I had a 360 for a good few years. And then once I moved away from the 360, I got a PS3, I think it was. Sure. And then I'd switched away, so I didn't do that. And then once now back on PC with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, like that just makes sense. Like I can play like all of these games basically for the same price, so it's still a good deal. And I think I'm renewed right now to like 2022 or maybe 23. So it's just worth it, really.
Yeah, and Sony is not taking this laying down either. Between Microsoft doing the different things they're doing, Sony Interactive's Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan has acknowledged that the PlayStation 5's continued absence from store shelves. Well, I mean, you don't have to acknowledge that. I mean, that's just been a fact for a while, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever
but that's on a GameSpot article. But he did say that they're going to increase the production over the summer. And again, I'm like, I almost read this article and said, duh.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you're in the business to make these consoles. There has actually been time when Sony's console division supported other parts of their company. So yeah, if you're going to, yes, you want to sell as many as you can. You're going to keep building as many as you can, and you're going to keep doing this. So yeah, ramp up production. They've sold 7.8 million units.
That's a whole lot.
Through the time that they released till March 31st. They've outsold what the PS4 sold in the same time period, even with constant shortages. So the market's out there. The market's bigger. Sony's selling out. Microsoft's selling out. They're both selling out faster than the consoles did before. So both companies are happy. Back to there is no war. The only war that they have is like against the scalpers, really.
And that's not a war they care about because they make the money.
And that's not a war they care about.
So like
that's our war.
Yeah, that's our war. That's the war on the streets.
They're just the dirty arms dealers.
Yeah. They don't care who they sell
They're
to.
selling the weapons.
Yeah, they don't care. Yeah, I mean it is obviously with things like chip shortages and things like that happening, we're gonna see this probably happening for a while. And as long as, and a lot of, and I say this like, even like me and my wife joke about this, like with Nintendo, since the early days of Nintendo, there's always been a shortage on Nintendo. So even like the latest when the Switch came out, it's like, oh, can't get a Switch. They're sold out. It's like they do this on purpose. Cause if you make that fictional, if you make it like this thing that you can't get one.
They don't do it on purpose.
And then you can't get one. So yeah, people will keep wanting one.
The hype, there's no way, it's not on purpose. There's no way to,
I don't believe it.
Well, there's no way it makes any sense for a company to do that on purpose, first of all, because it just brings some negative feelings, which isn't good. But I mean, any press is good press, BS, but whatever. Like,
I don't believe it.
They don't make money by building hype. They make money by selling.
Yeah.
And most of these consoles can't ever make the initial amount of demand ever because the hype's already built up. You just can't. That's always been the case. There's been very few that don't sell out from pretty much since the first Xbox. So they don't do it on purpose. They manufacture what they can and they get it out there. It's a very tight time schedule, and they can't manufacture so far in advance that they're going to have leaks. So they kind of balance it out, and they're hoping that, they not selling out a year later, because then it's even more frustrating for the fans. But then again, at the same time, they're going to try to sell out a year later because they don't want stuff sitting in inventory.
Yep.
Well, going on to a slightly more divisive topic, Twitch has been making some changes recently. One of the interesting changes that they had made that people latched on. So Twitch's terms of service is that you have to be 13 or older to use the service. Now, they don't really say whether that's pretty much streaming, because that's using the service. Otherwise, you're just a viewer and they can't really regulate too much.
Well, I mean, you don't even have
that in there anyway.
You don't even have to sign up to be a viewer. You can just go to the page.
Yeah.
You don't have to sign in or anything.
Yeah. So it pretty much applies to viewers. I'm shocked that they even allow 13-year-olds. Well, it is under the supervision of their parents. But I am kind of shocked that they allow it as low as 13 for using the service, since it is something that can be monetized, and you get the whole concept of child labor in there and all kinds of fun stuff, even if they're doing it on their own and to themselves.
They may not be for partnership, though. They may not be eligible for. They need to be 18 for partnership.
Might not be.
Yeah, I think it's 18.
I didn't read as much into the terms of service. I was mostly looking to see. But they recently said, hey, we started with games. We're mostly games. We've introduced these other things like talk shows and in real life and all these things because that's what the fans want. The fans want to be able to talk to people. ASMR. They have these other categories. And what they saw is like, well, there's a whole bunch of people that are just showing off their body for no other reason than to show off their body. So they said, you can't wear things like a bikini unless it is contextually appropriate to what you're doing at the time. So a lot of enterprising people, and we'll say women, because I don't see too many guys in the bikini doing this on Twitch, decided to start what they call hot tub streams. And they will sit in a hot tub and they will do the things that they've been doing. Sometimes some will play games, some will do IRL talks, and just converse and entertain their viewers. And, sometimes even do games with them, where it's not like video games, but, like the whole, like after so many donations, we'll do blah or whatever. And that has started becoming really controversial on Twitch for a number of reasons. Twitch got to the point where they actually regulated chat where you couldn't type in the word hot tub. Just very interesting there. And they went so far as going to some of the popular hot tub streamers, Twitch streamers, and pulling their ad revenue. So, which that gets, that's where it gets kind of scuzzy for me on Twitch's side, because if you don't want the people to do this, but you're going to take their money, like not even like deny the money. Twitch, the ad revenue is the ad revenue.
Yeah. And
Twitch streamers only get a share of it. So instead of giving the share to the Twitch streamer, they're like, no. We apparently don't like what you're doing, but we're okay of being paid for it. Because some of these people, like one of the very popular ones, and you can go out and look these up for yourself through the different articles. One of the very popular ones was making between $35,000 to $40,000 in ad revenue. That was her share. That's before that's after Twitch takes its chunk of the ad revenue. That's a month. About $480,000 a year this person was making. And that isn't from hot tub streams. That's just her streams. And some of her, so yes, we'll be 100% honest here. She is a well-endowed individual with a thin waist. One could say that she is a living Barbie doll in both the negative and positive connotations there. I do not follow her. This is the first time I've ever heard of her. She has 2.8 million people that follow her.
Sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, she has 2.8 million subscribers or followers, whatever. I don't even know about how many are like, the paid subscriptions, but I went and I looked at her stream and she does some ASMR. Okay. She does some IRL and she wears like a skimpy top. Okay. I mean, it was nothing else than I would see like people walking around the mall in. She absolutely does hot tub and a bikini. But at the same time, I also saw where she had multiple streams where she got on a horse and you couldn't see her at all. She rode the horse through a trail and all you could see was like the horse's neck, the horse's head, and then the trail. And she's riding around and she looks like she does a variety of things. Is she using what she is, I'll again say, naturally endowed with to help increase her subscriber space? Absolutely. I mean, Mike does it with his voice. I know all the ladies love his voice.
What? No,
that was a bad example of it right there.
No way.
Well, no one comes from my voice. That's for sure. As much as I talk. But at the same time,
she fix this stuff.
Yeah, I have not listened to her stream, so I cannot vouch for the content of what she's saying or anything. But I saw a horse stream where she's riding a horse and she goes back and she's in normal clothing, no cleavage showing, nothing, a normal shirt. Normal is even the wrong way to say it. A full coverage, like t-shirt or even riding shirt, really. And she's like taking care of her horse after the ride and she's brushing her horse down. And she even shows like the product that she's putting into her horse's mane as she's brushing the mane down. And I was like, this is a pretty normal IRL stream. But, and Mike will have his own comments that he doesn't like here. I will quickly say some of the other side that some people mentioned is at the same time, this is a service where people as young as 13 can start using the service. And there would be an unholy shitstorm that comes down on Twitch if a 13-year-old did a hot tub stream in a bikini.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's not really the part that, like, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this whole subject because at the one
you
part...
You don't sound torn.
One part...
I mean, you didn't sound torn earlier.
At one part, it's entertainment. I get that. But at the other time, it's like, at the other side, I just like, I don't know, like, I think, and I don't blame the streamers that are doing this. Let me get that clear. Like, that is not like why I feel a certain way towards this, but what I feel like it's more of like a Twitch issue, right? So I wouldn't want my 13-year-old daughter or son, if I had one of those, I have a son, but he's not 13. But I wouldn't want them coming to a stream that I, thought would be like this person on a horse riding around that they, did all that stuff. And then the next time I look over, she's in a bikini wearing what's really nothing, basically, in a hot tub. Like, I wouldn't want that happening. Like, what are you watching? Like, what is this going on? I mean, and that's the thing is, but I blame Twitch because, like I said earlier, there is no log in to view. Like, you go to whatever page and you can just watch it. And then if you want to comment or be a part of the entertainment, then you have to sign up and do the actual account thing. Which even that, I mean, you could, lie about your age and make up an account, which you would be breaking terms of service. But yeah, I mean, I think the most important part, like you just brought up, is the 13 or older crowd, 13 to 17 crowd that would potentially want to do something like this. And, as a viewer, going to that person's page, not knowing how old they are, and then you're watching, you're participating. I mean, and I say participating because you are participating. You are in a chat.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're speaking.
It's something that I said
not necessarily
before the stream started. It's interactive entertainment.
And I'm not saying you have to say provocative things because even that's still, against terms of service. But sure, there's a lot of people that go out there,
even if they're over.
Right. And a lot of people can still be very creepy. And if you watch any Twitch page, you can tell that. So even seeing that aspect of this could be a disaster, really, like a Twitch, like for what you said. So I think the problem here is Twitch needs to figure out a hard line of this is what we're going to do going forward and make that very apparent, because taking away someone's revenue that they're, potentially used to making, which is a ridiculous amount of money for just streaming to me, but whatever, it's entertainment. Taking just the ads,
that's a ridiculous amount of money.
Period.
For anything for it be.
So
like, I just can't imagine $40,000
just from ads
a month.
Yeah. So like but the thing is you can't just
it's not even merch or anything else.
Yeah. Like you can't just take that away from someone with that when it doesn't actually break the terms of service, like the agreement that this is a partner or an affiliate that has, I'm guessing this person's a partner being that they have that many fans and this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure this wouldn't be a big deal if that was already included in that terms of service of like being a partner, because if it did, then they'd be like, oh, well, I guess I don't make the money now. It's fine. So, but the fact that this is happening, like this is just a wild thing to think about, but they need to determine, okay, if you are doing certain things that's not whatever they define, then, ad revenue doesn't count, or they don't do that. And then just everything counts. Like they can't pick and choose.
That's what's even worse. They didn't reduce her ad revenue on the hot tub streams. They took away all of her ad revenue on her channel.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Even that, like,
it's just ridiculous.
They can't pick and choose. They shouldn't be able to. And this is not the first time Twitch has picked and choose what they wanted to do, because that goes back to banning people. That goes back to, we talked about terms of service of other issues in the past. And that's always how it's been. It's always been whatever their law is, which we don't know because it's not like plain as day besides the terms of service. Even when I asked a question, I sent Twitch as an affiliate, I sent them a message like, hey, I really want to know clarity on this certain subject because like I don't want to break my terms of service. I am an affiliate. I want to be able to make some money off my streaming, my revenue. And even with that, all they replied back with was, read this thing. And I said, okay, I read the thing. I already read that. That's why I'm writing you. And that's it. That's all they responded back with. So even if you want to know more, would you like to know more? You can't unless you just cross that line. And once you cross that line, most people just get banned. And it's like, what happened? Yeah. And we don't know. We can't go back and look. We can't figure it out. And it's a very pick and choose war that they take, and we don't really get to know the result of it.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, okay, you are a parent. I am not a parent. So there is some
apparently
difference in viewpoint.
Dad jokes.
At the same time, you know, PG-13 movies literally show and are allowed to show more than what shows up on these streams.
With parent consent. Now, like, you can't go to a PG-13 movie, I think, without a parent. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Parental guidance.
You never went to a rated R movie before you were 18.
Actually, I did but they changed it. My movie theater said you had to be 18 to buy the tickets, and you had to have that person with you when you went to go to the movie.
Yeah.
At least at the theater that I grew up with. Like, so literally, because at one point we would just buy the ticket, go in, but then it was like, no, that person with you that's going into the movie when you go to check in has to be over 18. You're like, what? Like, that's crazy. Blasphemy. How can I watch American Pie?
Right. But again, my point is, even with your parental consent, that is part of it, is that parents should be a part of it. I get what you're saying too, is that you think it's okay because you see a horse riding video and think in horse grooming video and you think fine. And then you turn back around and you see that again. But yeah, that's going to happen.
That happens on YouTube. That happens media.
I think
TV.
I think the interactive part of it is much more dangerous, because then you have conversations start that are probably not appropriate for people 13, 14, 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see the data of like who's watching those streams and what age range they are.
My point too is that happens on the game streams, and it happens just as much, if not more. And some of the negative comments and the racism and the misogynistic comments and that's happening on the game streams all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, it has nothing to do with whether they're doing hot tub streaming or IRL or ASMR or that, or the anything. That's the audience that's really at fault there. And really, that's where I think Twitch needs to make changes, because they have been terrible at it. Maybe they should talk to Intel. Intel's got this neat thing they're working on called Bleep.
Yeah.
Intel, talk to us,
here,
you know.
Sure.
Like
ASMR fan. No, I mean, and I guess, like I said, and don't get me wrong, I'm not throwing all the blame necessarily. I think Twitch could do this better. I think they could have more control of their own platform, right? But at the same time, as a parent, you should know what your children are doing. Like,
absolutely.
Don't just buy them GTA 5 because they want it. Like, how about look at what GTA 5 is? What does it have included? That was one of the worst GTAs in as far as of like parental content that you had. Like, you could literally bend a person over and like do the thing, like literally in the game. And it's like, well, I didn't realize that. Like,
we talked about this before, where GTA 5 went through 3 generations of consoles.
Yeah.
But that was because it's like playable on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. They're actually releasing updated, like full releases by new versions of GTA 5 made and updated for the new consoles.
Yeah, I know. That's still ridiculous. That's coming out.
That's coming out soon. 8 years
after
the original game was released.
But my point of that is, like, you don't just
I'm sorry, it was a segue.
I know. You don't just buy your kid stuff because they want it. You always check. What's funny.
My sister who her kids had started getting into Magic the Gathering. and not just playing it, but they wanted to go to like, the local tournaments in the, friendly local comic book stores. And so she didn't just like look at Magic and see what it was and determine whether it was, she actually started playing the game to like stay in touch with it. And she would take them to the tournaments instead of being a parent sitting in the background, like looking through her phone or whatever. She entered the tournaments and started playing the game. And she was like, exactly. I mean, not all parents have to go quite to that level, but you should go close to it. You should get involved in it enough that you can make informed decisions and not like, on the surface, it looks great and I'm going to take them there. And like, yeah, no, it's fine. You go back into this room with all these 30 and 40-year-old men. She had a daughter who was into Magic, and start playing these games with them. And they actually cleaned up at that comic book store because they like made it so, okay, guys, like seriously, this is getting out of control. You cannot make certain comments while you're playing.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't have to be said in the first place. Obviously, we ourselves are guilty of like F-bombs and a couple other things like that. In the, that we just, that's how we salt and pepper our conversation. But, and even that's not what they were talking about. There's certain things that you just shouldn't be saying, even if other people aren't around that would be offended.
Yeah, I mean, the other part of that is, like I said, and you don't even have to, because I mean, not every parent is going to know what games are. Like, that's fine, right? Like, if you're not a gamer, I don't expect you to know gaming. Like, that's just, it goes into anything. You're not going to know that stuff. But, I mean, this is why the ERSB was created, or the ESRB, sorry, was created, which is the Entertainment Software, was it Review Board, I think it is? Rating Board. And, like, there's a good, I think I've probably talked about this documentary before on Netflix. I can't remember what the heck it's called at this point. But yeah, there was a game called Night Trap, and it was like live footage, recorded footage of like this game where it was like you could basically pick and choose things going on to like try to get the thieves from breaking in or whatever. But like they'd break in and like grab the women and like kind of do things in a provocative way, and you're like, and that kind of like was one of the reasons why the Entertainment Rating Board came up, like, because they were like, we have to be able to.
By the way, was not all that bad. In fact,
well,
all the bad things happened to the people breaking in, like almost like Home Alone type levels of destruction to these guys. It's absolutely hilarious going back and looking at the footage of that game. It was tame, and even for the time, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I mean, but the whole point was
blown
like,
out of proportion.
In the 90s, like being video games are still so new in the sense of like we have a Mario, we have a Sega, we have a Sonic. It's like that's what we're used to, and now we have this game that's like realistic. It's supposed to be a game, but we're like, I don't even understand this is a game. This is like a movie.
Also, it was not realistic.
Well, in the sense of real people, like it was recorded footage. Like that's not.
It was recorded footage that was extremely low resolution.
Yeah,
extremely low.
I'm not saying it's not. Not saying it's not. I'm just saying that it was recorded.
I'm talking about the realism part. Is that like it was less realistic than watching a horror film or a TV show. Not only because of the bad sets. I mean, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking just like so grainy and like it was almost like watching pixelated as far as that goes, because it was just so low resolution.
But the point is, after all of this, like the ESRB became a thing because they needed to have, just like movies or rated PG-13, rated R, rated whatever. They wanted to have something,
or PG-13.
They wanted to have something that video games could have some sort of rating system too. And that's why we have the, 17 plus or, games for like for everyone or whatever. And that's why we have that because, as a parent, you may not be very into gaming. You may not know what those games mean. But if I see a game and my child is like 12 or 13 and it's like 17 plus, like at least in my personal opinion is I'm going to look into that game and see if that game meets my standards or beliefs that my child should be looking at. And not saying that's
because you're educated in it.
Well, right, but that's why you should be educated. That's my whole point. Just be educated. Make educated decisions.
Yeah, but people don't want to be.
Well, I know, but
people
don't
want to take the time. That's the problem.
Stop being dumb.
That's why people are getting mad at Twitch for this stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
Because they're like, oh, it's Twitch's fault.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's Twitch's fault. It's Twitch's fault and our fault. It's everybody's fault. And with that, we're going to take a short break. Listen to me talk about our sponsor. So yeah, hang out. See you soon. And we're back
with the magic of editing.
I know it's so weird when we do this because we're doing this live. If you're listening to the podcast every Thursday, which we've mentioned before, but if you're new, then that's new for you. But we go to a break. We listen. You guys hear the ad, and then we kind of shoot the S with the chat, and we talk about different things. Sometimes there's a cat cam and all that fun stuff, but and then we have to say, all right, here we go. Everybody count down. Here we go. And then it's like, and we're back. And it's the same cut every time. That's why it's so awkward. And I don't know how else to kind of cut to that without making it awkward because it is just so awkward.
It's not awkward.
It's awkward to me.
It's like the local McDonald's. You know what to expect when you go there.
The local McDonald's.
It's the Rock.
That is like. Have you been to a McDonald's near me? There is nothing you can ever say you can always expect at a local McDonald's. The only thing you can always expect is something going to be crazy at the local McDonald's.
Well, you're not going to go there and get a Whopper.
That's maybe.
That's the point. You're not going to go there and get a Whopper. You're the Rock. Like they don't know what we've been playing. They don't know how our opinion's going to go on these games, but they know that after they hear the sweet dulcet tones of Zycia telling them about Anchor.
I knew there was something you were going with this, but anyway.
No, I just actually I segued to that on the fly. I just thought that. No, but after they're done listening to your voice, they know that we're down to business again when they hear Mike go, and we're back. Or when he's
News at 11.
Smart, he's like, back we are.
There we go. So, game of the moment this week, we played, actually, Phoenix or Brian played a game called Dorf Romantik. And it is $9.99 on Steam. And you can go check out the YouTube video. It is on our page of our playthrough, or his playthrough, and our commentary, me and Demiran's commentary on that, which was rather interesting. And we had, it was probably the most chat receptive game stream that we've done so far for many reasons, but it was definitely interesting. But I'll let you tell us about it.
Well, I'd like to say too, is one of the nice things that what we do with these YouTube videos as well, is that we kind of, I don't want to say review. I don't like the concept of a review unless we finish the game. But at least we put a nice little thing in the description section of the YouTube video of kind of what we thought about the game and some things about it. So it's a really nice and easy way to get a synopsis, some of which I'm going to talk about here. It's an interesting game where it is a hexagonal, almost Carsicone looking map building game. And it's got this cute art style. You have tiles that you start with. You start with a single tile out. You have to use the top tile of your stack. You have a certain number of tiles and you will eventually run out, and you build the map. And there are some loose objectives where you might get a tile that says, it just shows, a tree and a number next to it, like 280, which means that you have to have a forest of connected trees throughout these different tiles that has 280 trees in it, which, by the way, is a lot easier than it sounds. Or a house where it says 18 plus, which means you need 18 or more houses. And anytime you complete one of these missions, you get more tiles added to your stack so you can play longer. But other than that, and that there is overarching kind of goals that last more than one session, which is like, reach the point where you've placed 5,000 tiles or something like that.
Yeah, almost like achievements.
Or almost like achievements. And those will unlock other things like new tiles, like a windmill tile, or the water taxi tile. And other than that, it's just relaxing, no time limit. You can even exit out of the game and it will remember where you are. And when you start the game again, you can just resume right from where you are, or you can just throw it away and start a new game. And it's a different type of fun. It is not, the adrenaline junkie fun. It is very much, hey, if you need 15 minutes and you just need to forget some of the craziness of the day and you just want to place some of these tiles down, whether you're completing the little tasks or whether you're just doing it artistically, it's just it's a no pressure. There's no economy. There's no armies. There's no tech tree. It's just putting these little tiles down, almost like a jigsaw puzzle, but without the rigid structure of a jigsaw puzzle of this piece only goes one place. Now, they do have some limitations on how you can put the tiles down. You can't put a tile down with right in front of a railroad unless your tile continues that railroad or ends that railroad in a particular way. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty free and loose about where you put the tiles down. Yeah. And now those are the good parts. It's still early access. So keep that in mind. It is early access. This is the classic mode that we're talking about. They also have a creative mode in theory that is going to be coming. It's not here yet. So you would think that in creative mode, you can just place tiles however you want and make the map however you want, especially artistically or aesthetically. What I don't see is I don't see any way to export my map at the end or save my map so I can come back and look at it again later if I particularly like that one, other than doing a screenshot. I would like some features like this because it's a single player only game. It would be neat to be able to share. It'd be neat that if I really oh, wow, I made a cool looking map. I would like to export that into some type of XML file, send it to Mike, who has, by the way, since purchased the game.
We'll talk about that.
I would like to be able to send that to him so he could load up the map. That would be a really cool feature. It doesn't really need a save mechanic because it's not really based off of saves. It does save where you're at. You can continue it again, or you can just start a new one, like I said, but I don't think it needs a save mechanic. I think the export is really what it's missing at this point. Mike was not excited at first to see it, and I'll let him keep talking about it.
So this game ultimately is not a streaming game. So when we played this on Tuesday, we always stream on live, and we talk about it.
Unless you're streaming ASMR.
But it is not a streaming game. So as he said, it's a single player game where it is, and like you said, I purchased it today. I wanted to forget about some things that I did today, and I wanted to just relax, so I did that. And it is
How did it
fun.
Work?
It is fun on the single player level, and just being able to put some pieces together. And there is a slight strategy, like you said, because I mean, you could literally just put down tiles outside of a railroad going into a waterway or whatever. You pretty much put them wherever you want to. So it's you could either try to min-max the game in the sense of certain tiles go here because the little quest tells you to put 5 together or 6 or more or whatever. Or you can just kind of do that and then slightly put in some pieces just because it makes it look pretty. So there is that. I'll say the game, I definitely reviewed it or on the gameplay on Tuesday. If you go watch that, you'll definitely hear me be a little more aggressive towards this game because it's just not a streaming game, and it was hard for me to try to wrap my head around the concept of this game, not playing it, just watching. It was just not fun for that. But as playing the game, it's actually pretty interesting.
But also what we do Tuesdays, we're not streaming. We're teaching each other the game so that we can learn more about it.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it wasn't to me that type of game, but hey, it was fun. I ended up buying it. And if you're into that and it's nice and calm and you want to just relax for a few minutes, up to an hour, depending on how far you get, but $9.99 on Steam. Now, moving on to the next game. So I picked up a game yesterday for free because Xbox Game Pass. It's $29.99 on Steam. The deluxe edition, I think, is $39.99 or even $50 or something like that. But it is free on Xbox Game Pass. It is the new top of the line driving simulator extravaganza. It's called SnowRunner. And if you haven't seen this game, don't waste your time. I saw it. It entertained my curiosity, so I decided to download it because it's free. Whatever, I'll uninstall it if I don't like it. But what it looked like is it was explained to be like a simulation game where you drive multiple trucks, like pickup trucks, semi trucks, like off-road trucks, Jeeps, and all kinds of different things. And like some of the missions are like getting people unstuck or towing people or doing these different things. And I was like, very simulator, like I'll check it out. It's not necessarily, like I said, the best game that I would ever want to play, but I would at least check it out. So did that. The biggest complaint I had with this game, and yeah, I know it's the beginning and all that fun stuff. There's probably tutorial and stuff. But it's like the fact that it's so slow. Like the initial truck that you drive is like in the mud, like mud bogging mud, and you have to, move your car from like into low gear. You have to turn on all-wheel drive, and this is like using the right analog stick. You have to like hold a button and then like move the stick left and right, or move it up into an area, like almost like you're driving a stick, and then turn on all-wheel drive, and you have to like and it just really slowly just kind of like chug along to get like onto a road to get somewhere. And if you wrecked, like it wrecks your car pretty bad, your vehicle. And that was like the first mission, just to get to like a location. And once I got there, it's like, oh, we need to drive this other truck, which is like a huge 18, like, or a dually truck. It has like the big wheels in the back, and there's like two up front, one of the big semi looking trucks, not like a semi truck, but like a smaller one that you'd like carry stuff from like Lowe's from or something. And I had to drive that to go deliver steel, and I had to drive all the way across town to like do this. And I think the biggest problem to me, I think with this game, was the steering. So it's simulation based, where you can see your character kind of turn the wheel, So when I moved the stick left and right, depending on how much the wheel was still turned, my car would start veering that way, even though I wasn't pushing the right stick anymore. So I had to kind of like make sure, almost like if you're playing Sea of Thieves and you're like steering the ship, like you have to always go back to zero so you can make sure that the ship goes straight. Kind of like that. So, but you're driving, and in most driving simulator games, if I pull to left, I'm going to turn left. If I hold it in the middle, if the analog stick is centered, I'm going to drive straight. And I think that was probably the biggest part of the game that really kind of turned me off, because I had to constantly keep moving my stick left and right, and I'm constantly just driving like outrageous, like I was drunk or something. And obviously that's not the type of game I was playing. So again, I didn't enjoy it. I really didn't. It seemed just like too much detail, too much simulation for me. And I couldn't really get off of the intro of the game for me to kind of really maybe see some of the interesting parts of this game. But yeah, anyway, that's SnowRunner, $29.99 on Steam, free on Xbox Game Pass. Check it out if you'd like to check it out. Whew, that was probably more than I should have talked about that game. Anyway. All right.
Well, I didn't have anything to add to it.
That's fine. There was nothing to add. There's probably a lot more in the game. Other than the fact
that I was thinking about doing it for a joke for one of the Tuesday things.
Well, it's funny that was literally the purpose of why I wanted to do this next week. I wanted to play it a little bit, get a little far, I could show you guys this crazy game, and I couldn't get past it. So anyway, check it out if you want to drive a truck in the mud and stuff. So anyway. Oh boy, into the news. So Discord this week has announced that they are bringing a new feature to the platform to kind of make online conventions better. Imagine that. We talked about this last year. A lot of companies last year, a lot of the conventions flocked to Discord because of the way of all of their users could interact with the fans they needed to see, the panels and stuff, and they had voice channels and text. And people loved that. And Discord obviously took note of that and realized that, you know what, we can make this better. So what they did was they actually made a new stage basically a new channel you can make called a stage, which allows someone to be a speaker and then also have a Q&A chat going along with the speaker as well. So you can ask questions, you can have things in chat, you can have people moderating that as well. And it's a really neat integration they've done with this in this platform to kind of help out the conventions. But you can also use that for anything, like even a job that they wanted to have a speaker, or a school wanted to have a speaker and they want to have question and answers and have that stuff done. This was a really neat addition to make that happen.
Also, we got Phasmophobia. So fortunately, the developer, basically single person, who creates Phasmophobia for his company Kinetic Games, he maintains a public Trello board, which is a neat little way to kind of keep track of the work that you're doing, and it can allow people to look at it publicly. Someone noticed that his next beta update, he's going to be releasing 2 new ghosts.
Ooh.
Both a yokai and a hantu. Now, those that actually want to check out the Trello board can, through the Polygon article, you can actually get a link to it, or you can just search for it. There's a couple other interesting things that caught my eye, like they're going to make a small little apartment, a mansion, and what I thought was very fun is add more equipment list, night vision goggles, MEL meter, which shows both EMF and temperature, an REM bear, which is a bear that will make noises when the ghost interacts with it, kind of like Zycia. He makes noise when the ghost interacts with him.
Oh my.
Or an REM pod, a different type of motion detector. So it's really interesting checking this out. It's kind of a look into what's going to be coming up. So I'm excited. I can't wait for Halloween.
About
Continuing on. What?
About that.
I mean, I can't wait to see you try some of this stuff. It's going to be awesome. Another interesting thing that I would like to try myself, actually, I've always said, VR, part of the reason people get motion sickness is because their eyes are telling them one thing, that they're moving, but the ears, their sense of balance, is telling them something else, that they're not moving. And you get this disassociation between the two, and that's how you get motion sickness. Well, interestingly enough, some people are playing around with, and I swear to God, this sounds like we're trying to get something on our OnlyFans page by saying they're using a galvanic vestibular stimulation, which essentially is this device with electrodes that are attached near the nerves in your ear that help control and maintain balance. And what they do is they're stimulating those nerves during certain sections of a game to actually make you feel like you're moving at the same time. And that's what I've always really wanted in something like VR, is like, give me that sense of motion that I would actually feel it along with what my eyes are. And then I'm really going to be immersed into the game.
So Resident Evil Village, a game that I probably will never play. I can't say never, I guess. So they're, Resident Evil Village has a lot of mods already being created for it. And it caught my eye because some of these mods just reminded me of being a kid playing like Wolfenstein 3D, because it was like, there's a Barney mod, like the Barney the purple dinosaur mod. That's literally like all of the enemies are purple dinosaurs. It's crazy. There's also a mod to make, I think, the main character a mini Chris. So there's parts of the game where like the baby, I guess that's in the game, is actually the face of the adult. And there's a fly swatter that you can add as a weapon. And there's a video part of like the guy going behind the big, lady slapping her bottom with the fly swatter. And
Lady Dimitrescu.
They're just there, and there was like a basic like Starbucks version of her too, like her wearing like basic clothes, which I thought was pretty interesting as well. So there's just so many mods that already have people going crazy with this.
I saw a great one because she's got this hat, this very large brimmed hat. I saw this mod that every time you looked at her and then looked away, the hat got bigger. You look at her again, It look away. It get bigger. I like so much bigger that it's going like 15 feet out from her and starting to droop down. That was actually a pretty amusing looking mod, if I say so myself.
So there's one here I'm just looking at now. It's Thomas the Tank Engine. Her face is Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh my
I've seen that one as well.
It's just wild. But anyway, that's the point. There's a lot of mods already coming out for this, and they're pretty interesting. You can check them out online.
So we spoke a little bit earlier about the Returnal game. That's from the developer called Housemarque. And that is PS5 only, or at least PS5 and PS4 if they made a PS4 version again. But I'm not talking about the PS4 version. I'm talking about PS5 because one of the things that happened to the PS5 is they started selling games for $70 a piece instead of $60. And it was interesting because some people at Housemarque were talking recently that they had learned about Sony's decision to sell it for $70 around the same time that the general public learned. They had no clue that Sony was going to. They had previously released games like Resogun or Nex Machina, which they had released for about $20. So they were just thinking this was going to be a $60 game. I mean, hey, more money for them for right now. And we'll see how this $70 game stays in this current gen, I should say, or whether that's going to go away.
And Mediatonic, if you're familiar with the Fall Guys series, they had a little bit of a hiccup the other day. With their latest patch, they actually included their source code into the patch. Obviously not on purpose. There was literally a folder. There's a Steam DB page you can go to see that tracks the changes of what's happening. And one of these folders was called backup this folder _ but don't ship it with your game. And in the folder was all of the actual source code for the game. Now, why having source code is bad is because once you have the source code leaked, obviously if they were doing something super unique, people could see how they did that. But it also helps hackers be able to implement their hacks because now they know exactly how the game is written so they can write their code around that kind of stuff. Of course, since then it's been taken down, but the point is it did get out there for a little bit. So they've had some interesting ways to try to block hackers in the past. But now it may be a little harder for them to do so.
Dirty, dirty cheaters.
Dirty, dirty cheaters. So email section. I know we don't have any emails, but if you want to send us an email.
We got that email on that person who wanted to sell us something for the podcast.
Yeah, not the same. But
not the same.
If you wanted to send us an email, you can do that by sending us one at goa@sassgaming.com. That's goa@sassgaming.com. And we'll read it out loud or, say something about it. So, well, that is what got our attention this week. If you are interested in listening, or obviously if you're listening to the podcast and you're interested in watching this live, we do broadcast on Twitch every Thursday night at roughly 9 p.m. Eastern, roughly. I say that because sometimes a little later than sometimes it's on point. And then if you're interested in maybe trying to see more content like this and supporting us, we could also have a Patreon page set up. It's patreon.com/sassgaming. And one of the perks, a couple perks you get with that is you'll be able to listen to this podcast ad-free. So you can skip out that little middle section there. And then also we give you a little flair in Discord as well to kind of show, our appreciation for you being a sub. So that's pretty much what we have. Anything else, if you want to find out, sassgaming.com, and you can find all of our links and information there. As far as me, I'm Zycia, or Mike, that most people know. My information is Zycia on Twitch or XYCIA Gaming on Instagram and Twitter. What about you, Brian?
That seemed like an abnormally long time for you to get your deets this time.
You're welcome.
Wow. Did you say our email like 5 times in a row?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Phoenix Nova, PHOENNIX Nova. Put an underscore in between there for Twitch. Get rid of the underscore for just about everything else. Getting there. I'm slowly creeping up the charts with the YouTube channel so that I can actually get my name in the YouTube channel so you can find that a little bit easier in the future. But for now, you can just find me on Twitter to find that, as well as our SAS page where you can get the links to all of our stuff anyway.
So, and Demirin is still here. He's just reporting from the field this week, so nobody freak out. He'll be back. All right. Until next time.
Wait, you just ruined the next email that could have come in.
That's fine. Maybe they wrote it before I said that. Anyway, until next
Fair
week,
enough.
We'll see you guys. Episode 50. Maybe we'll do something. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll wait 2 more episodes after that or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're going to wait.
All right. You guys take care. Have fun. Get a vaccine. Get a mask. Or wear it or something. Take care.